One. Hey everyone, we're in another AI conversation, and I'm joined today by Arel Latoga, who is actually based in the UK apparently. So hi Arel, welcome to the show.
Hey everyone, good evening. Well, in my case, good morning.
Yeah. So let's pick up where we were where what we're sorry where we left off offline. No, basically, what your situation is, you're pursuing a master's in data science and communication. So I'd love to hear about. That's an interesting twist. You don't hear that combination very often in Liverpool. Tama ba? Liverpool.
Yes, that's right. Here in Liverpool, it's very cloudy today. Typical UK weather.
Typical
So
English
as
weather. Yeah.
yes. So as for the program itself, you're right. It is a combination of two things, or rather nakisingit lang yung data science aspect. So it's Masters of Science in Data Science and Communication under the School of the Arts. So it's already
Ah.
telling na my data science, but it's under the School of the Arts. So in this program, what we actually do is analyze data and, of course, tech in general, AI, and its effects on people, society, and the communications that go with it. So medyo minimal yung talks, yung technical aspects like making code. They expect
Oh,
you to
so
do
it's
that on your
closer
own.
to a social science
Exactly.
program. Okay, that's awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, we are people in tech, but we do not talk about tech often.
Mm.
This program fills that kind of void. So we do talk about its effects, ill effects, good effects, externalities, and study them. Not to the point naman na we're gonna solve all the problems in the world, but at the very least, we know how to tackle them when they come.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Sige, so let's just dive into that now. You have been working for a couple of years before getting into that program. So could you share your path, no? Did you see yourself taking that data science program before, or what was the story?
Okay, so here's the story. As a high school student, I was really into video games. I mean, let's be real. Who isn't into video games, right?
There are a few
Probably.
weirdos who are not into video games.
Oh, psychopaths, you mean? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm pretty sure most of us, or rather most people in tech, they got into tech, into computer science or IT because they want to make video games. So as for myself, high school pa lang, I'm gonna boot Unity and make video games with my friends. We even had an elective where we made games on Unity 2 point something, 2.7, I believe.
Hmm.
So because of that, I took computer science in college. And over college, I just made more games, C++, mono games, C Sharp, you name it. And then I realized, do I really want to make video games for a living?
I have a question. Unity versus Unreal. Wala lang, just out of curiosity.
So that's a very interesting question because in more layman's terms, it's like asking Spring Boot versus Vertex, ganun, or
Okay,
.NET.
okay.
So,
Okay.
different tools for different things.
Uh-huh.
May mas madali, may mas mahirap, but you have to understand what the strengths are. So for Unity, it's C Sharp. C Sharp is
Okay.
definitely easier than C++. And si Unity din yung de facto for indie games. So
Yeah.
if you need some help, you can just go to the internet and look up what your problem is. As for Unreal, C++, so madugo yan. But of course, Unreal also comes with blueprints. So if you want visual scripting, then sige,
Kaya.
you don't have to
Okay.
code.
Yeah.
But the thing with Unreal is that it's very heavy on resources. So if your computer is not so good,
Don't don't
Unity
don't
ka na din.
bother. Don't bother.
Don't bother.
Yeah, okay. So at least we got that out of the way because
Yes.
I'm not in the gaming space. I actually wanted to start into gaming. That's actually what got me into coding at a young age. Pero wala, it
Like
never
what I
worked
said.
out. So yun. No. Sige, going back to you.
Okay, sorry, we digress, but it's
No.
fine. Um, so going back, college. Yeah, so I got into making video games because it's a combination of a lot of things. technical aspect with the programming thing, right? Storytelling, that's also more the creative aspects. Music, auditory. So combination talaga siya, marriage of a lot of things.
Mm.
But again, like what I said, do I want to go into game development? Because I don't think there's money in it, at least here locally. And look at the contemporary video game development space. Layoffs left and right.
Yeah.
Just here in the UK, here in Liverpool, just a few months ago, they laid off one of the PlayStation offices. So we've probably all heard of it if you're into the layoff thing in video games. So isang building completely wiped off
PlayStation
the map.
developers, yung mga na-layoff.
Yes,
Wow.
first party developers.
Who
So
who
ganun.
knew that PlayStation was not a secure job? Diba?
It's not, being in video games is not very secure.
In
So
general.
for all people who want to get into game dev, pursue your passion, of course. I'm not gonna stop you, but also consider the landscape.
Okay.
Kasi, passion will not put food in your table.
So you
Anyway,
expect
sorry.
all the game devs to be very lean and thin.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
But
it's a bad joke. Sige, go ahead.
there's no shame in being into game development because it's a noble thing to want to do.
Yeah.
No harm in it. And here's what I noticed, mas magaling mag-program ang mga game dev kaysa sa hindi game dev, but that's a very controversial
Okay,
opinion. So
explain that. I want to hear this. Why so? Yeah. I kind of
because,
partly agree, by the way, but yeah. I want to hear it
because
from an actual game dev.
well, I'm not an actual game dev, it's just my observation, but game devs have to be more meticulous with their code. You can't just make something na ay pwede na, gumagana. But no, because you know what? You know what capital G gamers hate? Low FPS. So if your code sucks, it's not gonna run well. And if it's not gonna run well, it's not gonna sell well. So that's the name of the game, performance. And as you can see with previous releases, like if you're a gamer, there's Dragon's Dogma 2. Its primary problem would be it does not run well. So if you want to make games, you have to learn to code well enough at least that it runs at a very good
sige,
frame rate.
if you don't mind, I want to get at least into a little bit of the weeds.
Yeah, go on.
What drives kind of that performance? Kasi games would have many, I don't know, moving parts or layers. And that might be a clue of understanding why a game dev would in a way be more whatever holistic or robust about performance. Is there like an easy way of explaining that? No? What would make a game run badly?
Okay, so the most immediate example I can think of would be, let's say we want to make a game like R-Type. Or if you're a zoomer, there's Toho. Or yung mga shooter games.
Okay.
So shooter games are composed of very simple things. So you have the ship, you have the enemies na typically they're all the same, right? They're all the same kind of enemy. And of course the bullets. So in essence, they're all the same resource.
Yeah.
So do you instantiate them at runtime?
Mm.
Or do you instantiate all of them from the start, and then when they get hit by a bullet, let's say yung kalaban, it gets hit by a bullet, do you de-instantiate it, or do you just put it back
in some other state?
In some other state? So this is what you call object pooling, actually. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You don't instantiate and de-instantiate. You just put them somewhere else and then put them back in when you need them. So that's a very big thing, I guess, super basic thing in game development.
Is that a function of what the runtime memory? I don't know. I could be mislabeling it, no?
So I'm not a professional game dev, so feel free to correct me if anyone's watching this. So
look at these two jokers inventing shit. But anyway, go ahead, yeah.
So nitty gritty being, you load everything from the start. So that takes memory, diba? And CPU cycles kasi kukunin mo pa sa hard drive and then you put them in your memory. And then ayun, that's the brunt of each loading screen, I guess.
Yeah.
Ganun yun. So there's a common thing with games nowadays. It's what you call stuttering,
Mm-hmm.
micro stuttering. That's because naglo-load ng resources si game on the fly.
Ah, okay.
And it's a very common thing now with open world games, games with big maps. Instead, you would want to just load them from the start. Kaya may matagal na loading screens because it's putting everything
Yeah.
in memory. So I've sometimes see Elden Ring, for example, it would bug out, and instead of showing you a loading screen, it would show you the background, and you would see the environment loading in. So at first, parang white sky, and then the buildings start popping in,
Uh-huh.
and then the enemies, and finally your character. Tapos yung UI. It's kind of funny actually.
Kasi you see the world getting built as in a
Yes,
sequence, no? Okay.
yes, it's being
Fascinating.
built into memory.
You know what actually blows my mind then? And again, this is a frustrated, almost game dev kind of wondering. It's one thing to manage performance in a single player setup, right?
Yes,
But when you're in a multiplayer setup, especially remote, in other words, data has to travel through the internet and synchronize environments across hundreds, maybe even thousands of players. I'm still surprised how well that works. Because for sure there's some lag or latency somewhere there. And parang in my very, very simple head, it's like synchronizing database tables, diba?
yes,
And
it
diba?
is.
And at some point there will be a split second where your table will be different from the other guy's table, and then you make a decision based on that. Parang ganun, no? Writ large, but instead of just
Yes.
rows and columns, it might actually just be a table, but it's rendered by the engine as bugs on a landscape, and whatever objects moving around. I'm still surprised how well it actually works architecturally. I don't know enough, so I'm just
Mm.
really amazed at how well that works.
Honestly, me neither. I'm also surprised na all of this works. It's all magic to me even.
Yeah,
So, if I remember correctly, si Microsoft, they worked on the Halo series.
yeah.
May blog sila about the backend they
Mm-hmm.
use for multiplayer sa Halo Infinite.
Yep.
So, I don't remember the name of the blog, but it's there. It's how they made an architecture specifically for games. Tapos ginamit nila sa Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool and it's really interesting. And in modern games, you can also see how cloud providers are being used.
Yeah.
So, see, Guilty Gear Strive, a popular fighting game, it uses AWS. See, Street Fighter 6, it uses, I believe, Azure.
Mm-hmm.
For Tekken 8, I don't know actually.
You're familiar
But
with
yeah,
Machine Zone? It's one of the it's one of the many American MMO
Machine Zone.
yeah.
No, I'm not yet familiar with it.
Yeah, they did Game of War, no? But and maraming mga iterations yun. But anyway,
Hmm.
the CEO of Machine Zone, I don't know if it's still the same person. It's a bit of a jerk, but I was very impressed in one of the videos that he talked in, because he said we now have, I don't know, syempre hyperbole from a CEO, but we now have the best MMO engine in existence, sabi niya. And we're going to use that engine to solve social problems. In other words, if you have this basically massive engine that is able to handle hundreds of thousands, or maybe even I don't know how many users they have at the time, that kind of compute
Hmm.
can be
I'm
brought to bear to, let's say, transportation problems, all sorts of stuff. And yun that left an impression with me. I don't know how well they're doing now, if they're even in business, pero several years ago I saw that video that they were solving for New Zealand's transport network using that game engine. No? I don't know. What's your take on that? Is that actually even a thing?
So I'm not familiar with Machine Zone, but with all things coming from the US and most especially Silicon Valley, I'm calling BS on that
Yeah.
because let me draw parallels muna for with a recent thing that got released over the past 2 weeks.
Sige nga.
So the Humane AI pin. Does everyone know what that is?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you
Okay.
don't pause this video, look at what the Humane AI pin is and have a read the controversy surrounding it. Okay, so now I'm assuming you're done reading through it. So see Humane AI pin, it's a supposedly all-in-one device that does magic AI things as a personal assistant. But is it good? People say
Yeah.
it's not good.
How
So the
come?
defense coming
Mm-hmm.
from supporters would be that it's a it's an engineering marvel. Now it solves a lot of engineering problems and packs it in a small device, small thing that you can just put on your chest, and then it would do everything for you. But
It'll kill smartphones. Daw.
yeah, it's supposed to kill smartphones. But here's the thing: what social need does it solve? Because
Mm,
you can solve the most complex of engineering problems, but if it doesn't solve an actual human need, then why bother?
mm.
Like it's like the Juicero problem all over again.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
no one no one bought the Juicero because it's absolutely useless. The human AI pin is kind of the same,
It's the
just in
same
a bigger
thing,
package.
and it's what's $700 dollars or
Yeah, it's
something.
a oh, you have to pay $100 more if you want the white colored version.
Oh gosh, what's the default color ba? Black? Parang ganon.
Black. Yeah,
Ah.
so
So if you want it to
the
feel
fact
like an Apple device, you want to pay $100 more. Parang ganon na dating.
yes, and I feel some kind of parang may racial motivation eh. Like you have to pay more for the white version, but that's just me.
O baka it's a way of monetizing racism, no? So
Yes. I mean, with talks about race in the contemporary world, anything could be real. Yung mga conspiracy theories, like I don't want to feed into people's conspiracy theories, but
sure.
I don't know anymore. Like um it's really strange. Like reality is stranger than fiction, I suppose.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. Hindi kasi isa pa dyan is so we're talking about hype, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you've heard about, but as of this time, about less than a month ago, the Amazon story where yung mga Amazon Fresh, Amazon Go, where supposedly
Oh.
you can just grab an item from the shelf, walk out, and AI will magically detect what you bought. Na apparently the AI pala are really Indians on a CCTV camera watching you basically, and then manually tagging what you bought, no? And I was talking about amazement. I was actually amazed that even worked. That means even with humans, I mean, you must have a really, really good high definition CCTV feed to be able to, detect what people have been picking up. And then not a few months ago, similar story. A drive-through restaurant in the US claimed that their drive-through is basically AI powered. No, you're talking in natural language. You want to order fries, blah blah blah. As it turns out pala, that was actually powered by a call center in the Philippines.
Oh.
Mga ganon. So, which is a complete weird reversal of parang roles, no? Na, like, once upon a time, people were saying, oh, AI is going to replace people. Call centers are doomed. Only to end up with AI is actually call centers at the back end. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, and then this humane AI pin. Oh, nga. And maybe the goal was just to raise money and then run away with it. I don't know what it is. No, I don't know where it is now. No, the last news
Mm-hmm.
articles I'm checking out were in December. So hindi ko na alam kung saan napunta yung humane AI pin. Okay.
I
Yeah. So,
mean
anyways,
that's
yeah. Going back to you. Sorry about
yes.
that. Wild digression. No. So,
A
si
very well
Machine
digression.
Zone, you are calling BS on that. In general, no. But sige, going back to games. So, you started getting interested in game dev, and then were you in fact
Yes.
working as a game dev in the first few years?
No. No. Before I continue, I wanted to say na I got into game dev kasi oh wait, I already mentioned it.
Yeah,
I mentioned it na I wanted to make something that's human,
yeah.
tech for humans. So yun yung theme ko for my life even now. I want to make tech for humans.
Yeah.
So it could be games and it can also be in fintech.
Okay.
So for the first few years in my career, I got into fintech. So one of the more popular wallet app brands there in the PH. I
Mm-hmm.
worked on that. Let's just say siya yung bird themed. Yes, so I worked there for a couple of years, learned a lot. I'm very thankful for the knowledge I got there, but I also realized na I'm not too happy about classifying people into these buckets, bins, based on their psychological, no, not psychological, on their profiles, yung spending profiles sila, yung socio-economic profiles.
Which feels like
Parang
a twisted game in itself, no? Trying to label
yeah,
people like objects in a game.
it's dehumanizing, and normally people don't care because fintech is where the money's at.
Yeah.
And it was. So ayun, I moved into another fintech company. I thought they were doing the same, but um I personally did not agree with the goals, so I moved to a cybersecurity company where okay naman, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's actually quite nice kasi with cybersecurity, we all work towards making the internet a better place.
Mhm.
And that includes stopping people from attacking us and of course protecting tech companies that should be protecting their consumers.
Yeah, correct.
But often they don't. Like just look at all these various Philippine government agencies hack yung website nila na deface by by bad actors, malicious actors. That's not supposed to happen, but why
Yeah.
does it happen? Because people don't care about security. People don't care about the people who use those websites. But eventually I thought I want to learn more about how tech affects all of us. And I think it was just right kasi nung pandemic, crypto boom, NFTs, and everyone knew that it was not a very good thing. I'm so sorry to all people investing in crypto, but I highly disagree with your notions. I thought it was very exploitative. Like,
So did you frequent
economically,
the kind of the fintech
socioeconomically,
crypto space? Were you quite active there? 'Cause there's quite a lot of very religious opinions in that space.
um,
Just thinking out loud.
I mean, you know what they say, keep your enemies close. So
Okay.
I had to watch over crypto because I do not like crypto.
Mhm.
But if I want to actively not like crypto, I have to actually see what's happening so I'm in the know. Because every time I was in the know, it kept getting worse.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there was anything good other than big man earns big money. But for each big man that earns big money, how many smaller men lose money?
Yep.
That's the part that we don't talk about. And what's worse, crypto consumes a lot of electricity.
Mm.
So for crypto, they're paying in terms of time because they may be rich now, but who's gonna get affected later on? It's gonna be people in lower socioeconomic backgrounds, people in the global south. Like I'm here in the UK, a very cushy country, Western country, malamig.
Mm.
But over there in the Philippines, I believe you guys are suffering, burning, getting toasted by feels like 42-degree weather.
Mm.
So for most people here in the UK, they just think, but it's still cold. It's not that bad.
You mean because there's not
But
that
there in the
urgency to
Philippines,
solve for the environmental
yeah, because
problem.
yes, because they don't feel it. And
Yeah.
for those people who are in the upper echelons of society, so mga 1%, or yung mga nanalo sa crypto lottery,
Mm.
of course they're not gonna feel the effects of crypto because they don't care, or maybe most of them don't care because they're winning the game and the others aren't. And
Yeah.
we don't talk about those who aren't often. So anyway, I digress.
Mm.
So crypto, I thought na we have to study this. We have to study the effects of crypto in people, but eventually the crypto hype died and people stopped talking about it because of AI. That's when
Okay.
ChatGPT became a thing and now the AI race has started. So yung shortage with GPUs, the GPUs they bought for crypto now naging for for AI and
For
so on.
AI training na. Yeah.
Yeah, and companies like Nvidia, they keep winning. They keep winning the gold rush. They're rich, so it must be nice being an Nvidia employee right now.
Mm.
And now we
Iba sila
have
yung
this.
if there's a gold rush, sell shovels mentality.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're selling the shovels. I don't know what Radeon is doing. I mean, AMD, like they should be
Mm.
capitalizing on this, but they have really bad support for AI. Honestly, I own AMD devices and ang pangit ng support for AI. So I see why
Yeah,
people
I
use
don't know
Nvidia
why they
kasi
can't figure it
they're
out.
purpose built.
Wasn't that the ano ba yung driver, CUDA or something that allows the
Yeah, well,
Nvidia? Why can't we have another one like that does it for AMD and the rest? di ba?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, but si CUDA, it was released like matagal na eh, decades old na yun eh. I remember using it for my thesis. And
Yeah.
then eventually, ayun, may market hold na siya eh for for scientific researchers. So Nvidia na yung de facto for scientific computing.
Yeah.
So from parallel computing, ganito, ganyan, and of course AI. So it just kind of spilled over. So they just capitalized on the market relying on them.
Hmm.
Whereas si Radeon, si AMD, um, they really have bad drivers. Yung Rock M, it's not very good. Um, but I do believe that I don't think they're just aiming for the scientific research community in general. They're just aiming for the gaming spaces. Like,
Yeah.
they're supplying chips for the PS5 and the Xbox. Even before kahit nga yung Wii, I think, or the GameCube, AMD
Yeah.
yung hardware. So maybe they're just living in another kind of space.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just curious kasi knowing how open source works, I thought it was just a
Hmm.
matter of time, diba? Before somebody created the CUDA clone for some
Oh,
other, diba? Or is
I
there
remember
one?
now. Alam ko may gumawa ng translation layer for CUDA to Radeon, but
Mm, it
sabi
doesn't
ni
work.
Nvidia, stop doing that. And then they stopped doing it. So
Monopolies.
may
Okay.
monopoly talaga. So that's how it
Interesting.
works.
Well, I'm not. I don't have any skin in that game, but yeah, I mean, that sounds like it sounds like the Intel monopoly once upon a time, diba?
Once upon a
Every
time, yes.
oh, and at least there was an architectural kahit papano debate where if you didn't want to use an Intel chip, you could have gone to Apple. But then again, didn't Apple started using Intel chips also? I just can't remember when. No?
I believe yes. Intel had the foothold sa industry, and then for a time si Apple they had the yung G4 series or something.
mm,
I don't know the
mm,
exact terms. And then si AMD they were trying their best
to come in.
being to
Mm.
come in, but if I know my history right, si Intel they got too lenient kasi yung CPUs nila they stuck to having 4 cores.
mm.
Tapos si AMD naman their entire shtick was, oh, we have a bajillion cores.
Okay.
And then all those bajillion cores weren't actually so good until they released Ryzen,
Mm.
mga 2018 I believe, 2016, I don't know. And then that's when Intel started getting threatened.
Tama.
So they rested on their laurels too much. And now they lost their foothold. And I believe Ryzen is leading the CPU game now compared to the
Okay.
core series. But I'm not too sure. I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's the story of any kasi no one looks at the hardware monopolies too much eh. Everyone's into the
Yeah.
software monopolies. Pero yun na with AI taking another, I guess, swallowing up all of the Nvidia demand. I'm just wondering lang, in crypto kasi baka the dynamics is different. You know, people didn't mind relying on one provider for their mining. Pero AI has, I would say, far more stakeholders than crypto. In other words, more people or more types of people are interested in how AI will work. I'm just speculating, which could drive competitive pressures. No, I'm just thinking out loud. Sige, sige. Sorry, we got
Mm-hmm.
into ano na, ship economics. So, sige, back to you. So I surmise the reason you got into your degree or your master's degree is because of that, how should we say, idealism maybe, or thought bubble that you didn't want, or you want to see tech that serves humanity rather than tech that exploits people, to put it
Yes,
bluntly.
yes. So being in this kind of academic setting, what I can say is you end up having more questions than answers in the end.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot to ask about the current state of, sorry to get too philosophical, but you
Hmm.
get to question humanity more and more. Like, why do people do this? Why do people do that?
Okay.
Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? In this case, why are we still doing, evil tech for the evil megacorps? And why do people
Parang
not
Mr.
care
Robot
so
yan,
much?
Evil
Yeah,
Corp. Mm.
like we've had a lot of media warning about this kind of things, like Personal favorite, Metal Gear Solid 2.
Mm.
But there's also things like Black Mirror, Mr. Robot, yung ganun, yung techno horror genre.
Yeah,
Because these aren't fairy tales, they are real things that's happening. And we got hit by Cambridge Analytica.
yeah.
We a certain someone got installed into power because of that kind of thing, and now we also managed to install another person of
Power.
undeserved power because of similar things, like
Yeah.
the use of TikTok for disinformation. It's really a wide topic that should be discussed, but we are not discussing too much about it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a Philippine thing kasi here in the UK it's quite big. Ang daming organizations talking about the effects of tech, data, and society, but in the PH parang hush-hush lang,
Mm.
as if it's an open secret, which I believe it is. But
Mm.
if I say it out loud over there, I might disappear.
It's all right. We have to cross two oceans to get to you, so okay lang. Yeah. Sige, sige. I want to pursue this because it's certainly something that I've been working on, the
Mm-hmm.
social good and the ethics. I was just talking to in another conversation with a longtime collaborator, si Peachy, and we were talking about creativity. But
Yes.
then it occurred to me in that conversation that there's also another lens, which is the ethics. In the sense na because of Gen AI, lumabas na yung notion of creativity needs to be challenged because in the past, people we thought were creative, I would say 9 out of 10 of them were probably just consistent. They're able to deliver on a brief by a client, talking about agencies siguro or marketers, and they produce a very polished video or ad or campaign tick box. But as far as originality is concerned, most of the stuff is recycled stuff, I think, with a few exceptions. And I think a parallel parang and then now that AI is basically taking over execution of art, copywriting rather, um mahihiwalay mo na yung people with an original idea na because now the consistency or the execution field has been leveled out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kumbaga it doesn't give you too much of a runway na if you're a good photographer because everyone can generate a good photograph. Parang ganun ang dating. So now you have to think, how can I be more original or different? Now I just intuited in that chat a similar thing exists in ethics. There are lots of
Mm-hmm.
things we feel are ethical, are just compliant. The fact that you didn't break a law, and that's what legal engineering, I call it legal engineering, is for. You hire lawyers to allow you to, at least one use case, is to allow you to stretch basically as far as you can go, the gray zone of ethics without basically flagging a legal issue or a
Mm.
compliance issue. So I thought to bring that up because in your parang your impassioned uh I would say rhetoric about social good, I feel is partly a result of this. We have corporations, as you said, that are getting away with questionable ethics. But as
Mm.
far as the law is concerned, okay lang. Pasok sila. Yun yung point.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think
So
of that? Is that a thing or something that needs to be addressed?
yeah, so thanks for bringing this up because this is actually quite big. So here in the UK, or even sige, not the UK, maybe the EU, we have what is called the GDPR.
Yeah,
The I
privacy.
forgot what GDPR actually stands for, but basically it's a big
Data
box.
protection regulation.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
DPR.
it's a big book of regulations regarding tech. So
Right.
here in the UK, if I try to access American sites, for example, it would tell me na, oh, you can't access this because of the GDPR.
Yeah.
So what is the GDPR anyway? Ayun nga, it protects consumers from techno horror. So the thing is, I've read a few research papers about this. I forgot who the authors are. Bug me about that if people ask about it.
Uh-huh.
So tug of war talaga siya between the government and the industry. Kasi si industry, um, they advance quite fast. As in, they innovate very fast and the government can keep up.
Mhm.
But at the same time, si government, it can't keep up because the industry does not share its plans beforehand. So
Yeah.
may deadlock problem dito eh. Who should take the initiative? Because obviously neither wants to, or rather they both want to, but at the same time cannot. Because they want to advance their own interests. Like if you're a corporation, of course you're not gonna tell the government that your money making machine is gonna suck people's blood dry.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But at the same time, yung government naman, you know, you don't want to to make companies, corporates earn too much, or rather you don't want them exploiting people, but you don't know anything. You're slow. So
Yeah.
how are you gonna enforce that kind of thing? So I think that's why we get corporations, skirting the law. As you said, legal engineering. They just go for basta hindi kami illegal, okay na.
Yeah, correct.
Yung sa borderline na lang.
Yeah, tsaka ano eh, there's this, I would say, artificial dichotomy. It's a false dichotomy that for you to be ethical, you need to make less money, 'di ba? Parang it may happen
Mm,
that way because there's additional costs, but I don't think it necessarily follows. Kasi then in a way you're kind of saying profiteering, or profiteering is bad, pero making a profit would inherently involve dodgy ethics, which I wouldn't accept naman. On
mm-mm,
principle, we see it a lot. Parang cutting corners makes more money, but cutting corners is unethical. But certainly coming up with a business model that does not require you to cut corners should be more profitable dapat, no? I don't know. Thinking out loud, no? Um,
I
did you
I
see
mean,
that in your experience, or is that something that bothered you before?
if you think about it, let me draw parallels towards the game industry again. Yung mga companies record highs in profits nila and yet they lay off developers. Why does
Okay.
that happen? We don't know. They just want more money. So I think something similar happens to the entire ethics space na um parang goodwill doesn't put food on your table, ganun. But it shouldn't be like that. It's just that people don't care as much. And the government, maybe they're not too willing to put money in NGOs caring about ethics. So parang nagiging siya, nagiging self um what's the term? It's a
Perpetuating.
mas
Hmm.
yeah, it's a self-perpetuating thing na walang tao sa ganitong space. So, or rather, walang pera sa ganitong space. So, people don't get into it. The
Hmm.
government thinks people don't care, so they spend less on it. So on and so forth. You got a bunch of people actively talking about it, but they're way too small to make an impact.
Mhm.
But, as people talking about these kinds of issues in this kind of space, we shouldn't stop talking about it because once we stop talking, then that's when we know the game is already lost. So
Yeah.
even if it's an uphill battle, we should continue discussing these issues because, who knows, we might rally troops somewhere, we might make people more informed, well informed about these issues.
Mhm.
Kasi for most people it's just trivia, yung uy alam mo ba ganito ganyan.
Mhm.
But we don't want it to be that way. We don't want real issues to be just trivia. We want people to be informed. We want them to know that these things actively harm others. And so we must make a stand sa issue. Where do we stand? What kind of stance are we going to take? And with regards to making people choose sides, I think that's another issue entirely, which I cannot exactly give an opinion on because I'm not too informed yet.
When you
But
say
in the
take
Philip,
sides, like political sides, is that what you're referring to, or more of moral, ethical sides,
I
or
mean, when you
both?
think there's a saying that everything is political to an extent.
Mm.
So when it comes to ethics, it is also political. So yes, we have to make a stand sa political side, sa ethics, and everything because we can just stay neutral. When there's also another saying, when you don't speak against the oppressor, you're with the oppressor.
Mm.
Kasi you
Yeah.
don't say anything about it. Similar thing with if there's one good cop and 99 bad cops, there are 100 bad cops.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that one good cop who doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
We have to be more vocal kasi this apathy is what led to this situation we are in when
Across
it's
many
not.
fronts, no? Not just
Yes, across
business,
many fronts. So
politics, environment, you name it, rights. Okay.
yes, but how do we make people care?
Hmm.
Um, that's beyond me already.
Ano, this brings to mind parang ano, the concept of doing social good. Not necessarily social justice, although that's a subset.
Mhm.
And I can relate with how you're feeling that uh as a tech person, you sometimes occasionally feel parang powerless to move forward. And this has been a journey for me then personally. Kasi
Mhm.
I came from a banking job, so that's probably the most I would say uh that's the parang the banner industry for everything that's potentially evil about capitalism. Naman. You don't produce anything of value. All you do is just move money around and charge while you do it. And you lend money and you charge while you do it. Parang ganun eh. Talagang you're literally living off the currency. That's what
Yes.
banking is all about. But that's unnecessary for now, at least a necessary process for society to function. Kaya super religious yung mga crypto bros about dislodging banking. But I'm not gonna go there. No. I'm gonna go with the angle I wanted to pursue is when I was in banking and I was there for more than a decade, I thought the social good stuff was extracurricular. And the main purpose of my job, my role, was the money. No? And only to find out later on, at least my epiphany was when I was doing social good work naman. Parang it's the opposite dapat, no? Ideally,
Yes.
fixing stuff, whether it's a business or an NGO or a movement, is the real job. And then the making money, that's extracurricular. That's just needed to sustain whatever you need to do. It's an interesting, weird reversal. And I still kind of believe that now. No? I'm still I still have a very good visibility of the social good sector. And they're still figuring it out after COVID. No? COVID was
Mhm.
very effective in such a way that it's centralized funds kasi. So everything's now solve COVID. And nadalian doon yung mga NGOs, I would say. Kasi everything na lang, basta you can remotely connect it to COVID, bam, you get money. And then now it's reverting back to the old norm, and you have all out of these pocket movements, pocket concerns, whether it's climate, gender, food, whatever, education, without the COVID lens, naging fragmented. So in a way, NGOs now go back to the old struggle of, you want to raise funding, you want to talk to your funders, you have to convince them that this issue is big enough. Kasi funders also are kind of PR hungry machines din yan eh. Kasi
Mhm.
that's all they do lang naman eh, throw money at something. They need to be able to get a story out. And then trabaho ngayon ng whoever's seeking funds to say, hey, look, this is a big issue. We got to save the penguins, whatever. Here's the money. Here's what's going to happen. And here's how we plan to save them. No? And then much later, which rarely happens na, there's an accounting of some sort na. So how many penguins did you save again? Wala na. We did a PR campaign and we did a lot of heart-wrenching videos. Yun na yun. Who cares if the impact really is there? Anyway, so what point am I trying to make? Somewhere in the middle of that process, which repeats itself every year, is the value of storytelling. Yun yung nakita ko. Whether the
Mhm.
stories are
Yes.
really just stories or really based on facts. So I think that's the common ground where activists, advocates, journalists, all the way up to foundations, CSR stuff, seem to have a common thread. They all need a story to tell, whether it's a bad
Mhm.
story, to get to move people to tears, all the way to some politician wants to angle will use that story as a platform to run for an election. Grabe, ang laki palang, ang laki palang value ng storytelling. So, what was my question? Your course is communication and data science.
Yes.
I guess it comes back full circle there, no? About how stories could be crafted with data. Is that
Mm-hmm.
something that in a way resonates with you, that got you in it, or bakit something that's yet to come, no? Since you're
Yeah.
still in the middle of it.
Yes. Before I expound why my answer is yes, let me
Yeah.
go back to what you said about crafting stories. Because this all boils down to empathy, di ba?
Hmm.
We need to make people empathetic to the cause. Like, save the penguins. Oh, penguins are dying, global warming, so on. Natutunaw yung glaciers. Wala nang
Hmm.
bahay yung penguin, kawawa naman. Malulunod. Wait, they don't drown, they swim. But anyway, you get my point.
Hmm.
So, in the first place, why are we fighting for people to be empathetic towards a cause? Hindi ba dapat default na yung empathy? Why do we have to sell the idea of empathy, of the sense of other, right?
Yeah.
I believe this is an issue with I guess societal issue na siya na we have to fend for ourselves first. Um medyo tangential din siya with the diskarte culture in the Philippines na, uy, diskarte, kunin mo yung bike na walang lock. Sa'yo na yan kasi wala namang lock. Like, yung ganun, yes, you do get a bike, but someone loses a bike.
Yeah.
And, this kind of issue, it's very prevalent in the Philippines in bigger scales. And it's just exploitation at some point. So going back to what you said about data, I believe in its very essence, data science is about crafting stories with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also misconstrue this as making bad judgments or decisions, like the very famous correlation not being causation. for
Yeah.
bad for bad data scientists, they would see two similar looking lines and then probably make a correlation, even though, oh no, rather they would make a causation because of a correlation, which we all know is not true and valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in this program I'm currently taking sa uni, we have to focus on the communication aspect, on
Mm.
why having two graphs having a correlation does not exactly imply a causation. Yun yung kulang na aspect when it comes to this kind of field. Like, we can't just say na trend X plus trend Y equals ganito. No, we have to identify the mediators, why these kinds of trends happen in the first place. And yeah.
No, no, I totally agree. And the fact na that's not obvious, if ever, to people, because has always been the quintessential challenge that I've tried to crack. And that's led me to some hot takes then about data science, no, that some people are not taking very well.
I
One,
mean,
one hot take is I don't think data science is fourth industrial revolution at all. No,
oh,
such
I
an
have a
old, it's such me first. Then you let me know how you feel. No, I feel it's third industrial revolution at best, maybe even second pa nga. Number one because it's so manual, so painful. The methods are 19th century stuff, and don't get me wrong, some of them are
Mhm.
still effective. But yun na nga eh. What we want to do is solve for causation. But philosophically and mathematically, you'll never get it. Not with all of the tools. There are some sort of, causality methods that are being advocated. But when you look at them at the core, ganun pa rin eh. It's still correlation eh, at some level, even with, the fancy graph theories and stuff, no? So wala eh. Parang it's such a false comfort that you're able to say because A then B, pero not always. Kaya may ganun.
Okay.
So, sige, your turn. Sige, what's your take on that?
I mean, I agree naman. But first, I have a joke for you.
Okay.
So, how do you scare a data scientist?
Okay.
Show
How?
them what the p-value is.
Is that still a big deal? I'm just curious, no? Because that's another one of those I don't know. Kasi I've seen some impassioned write-ups, no, from the stat community. I'm not a statistician, but so I read it with some popcorn. Na some of them want to ban p-values, some of them
I
uh
mean,
wanna, relabel them, mga ganyan. Such a big deal, no, for them, no. But a p-value represents a kind of a measure, diba? And that's
yes.
just what it is, no? Now, baka the issue is why is there a hard cutoff na 5.05? Baka siguro
Mm.
debatable, pero even then, why would you want to advocate for something that's less effective or less efficient, 'di ba? Parang should we really be looking at data that's potentially garbage? Baka yun yung problema, when
Yes.
we know that a lot of the anguish is really driven by, in my view, very
Mm.
artificial issues. Like your paper wasn't accepted because it's the p-value 0.06. Parang ganon. And it's now
So,
boom, exploded into this big anti-religion religion. I don't know. I might be getting it
so
completely wrong. Ikaw, anong
you
view
know,
mo?
here's my take. So what you said made absolute sense. So I'm gonna expound on that. Going back to the issue with causation being mistaken for correlation,
Mm,
that's because we have that happens when we have a complete lack of further understanding, like yung mediating variables, even the
yeah,
p-values themselves. But at the same time, yung mga academics, they can get too fussy about the most trivial of things, like what a p-value should be, bakit 0.05, bakit 0.5, 0.1, or whatever. Personally,
whatever it is, diba? Yeah.
I think it's all senseless drivel. But what's important is the conversation surrounding, let's say, the p-value itself. Like, what's an acceptable value? How
Mm,
do we determine when enough is enough?
yeah.
So when we tie this up with data science, industrial data science rather, not academic data science,
Mm,
we should also ask questions like, when is enough enough? When is data valid? Like, yes, may may correlation, but may causation ba talaga? And it's a lateral thing from p-values kasi it also makes you question the validity of your methodologies, yung samples mo, yung
mm,
population.
mm,
Like, you could have a good data set and good graphs, charts. Like, may causation nga, but tama ba yung population mo? So we have to go back to the to the fundamentals, yung foundations of statistics, because data science is partly statistics, right? It's not entirely stats, but it borrows heavily from stats also. It's a marriage of a lot of things.
I'm
And
actually surprised, honestly, that
yeah.
stat still exists when shouldn't it just be data science? Syempre, labels aside, kasi if majority of the methods are data science anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. Why not merge the disciplines? It's
Mm.
like why
So
why is library science still a separate course? Parang why isn't it also?
so I have a good analogy for that. So I studied computer science for my undergraduate. A lot of people take undergrad programs for CS or maybe IT. Pero ayun nga, kung may IT na, bakit pa may CS? When it could just be, let's say, AI, game development, front-end web development, web
Oo nga.
development.
Similarly.
So for statistics kasi, you could be a data scientist, 'di ba? You could be a mathematician somewhere. You could be a researcher. A lot of researchers rely on maths even if they have a psychology background or sociology, kasi they study people. They're gonna need to somehow crunch these numbers. So my foundation's in on stats. So stats let you branch out into many other fields. Ganun. That's how I see it. Maybe it's hard to appreciate kasi sobrang academic ng dating niya. Kind of like CS na I read a lot of comments saying bakit kailangan pang aralin yung algorithmic complexities ng gagamitin yan. But eventually, as they climbed the corporate ladder, they realized na yung hello world na ginawa nila nung first year college sila, may O of n cubed na runtime, and that's not gonna fly if you're a CEO, right? Ganun din with stats, I guess. It doesn't mean na you have to follow rules by the book, but rather you're trusted with enough judgment, with enough thinking capabilities to make a good judgment on things. And that includes choosing a good p-value. So yes,
among many things, right? Like
among many
kasi
things,
maybe
yes.
part of it I would assume is also because the concept of the p-value is also largely misunderstood by a lot
Exactly,
of
yes.
people. Kumbaga, that's not the only measure that modeling gives you. And siguro pampagulo lalo. I'll give you a minutia that I encounter in my kasi I'm still quite active in the academia, but I don't lecture anymore. I review capstones. So it's the most fun job ever kasi your job is to just destroy proposals, and if they
Yes.
survive, then your job is to kind of guide them. But I'm exaggerating. Pero so one minutia that I keep encountering. So you have supervised learning, no? Mga regressions
Mhm.
and all that. And that's pretty well defined as a practice. You have training data, you have testing, you have validation, then you have all of your measures of fit. P-value is one of those measures that you use to check the validity of the model. That's well and good for supervised learning. But then you have these other methods like unsupervised learning, which could be used in a similar manner. Kunyari, clustering. Let's just use clustering as an example. A lot of people I who are doing their capstones and base it on some unsupervised method. Um, they don't do train and test at all because it's not something you do in clustering. Typically, it's not taught that way. And I keep challenging them to rethink it. Kasi sabi ko, look, what you've just done is come up with an insight in a data set. You have no way of checking if that insight holds true with another parang version of that data. So you should at least cut it up the same way you would do it with a supervised model. And then check, were the clusters actually consistent? Lalo na when you add a temporal or a time element to it.
Mhm.
And they're completely thrown off. Kasi number one, we never teach clustering that way. We teach it as if, okay, lock, stock, and barrel, you throw everything there, you pick how many centroids, blah, blah, blah. And then kung ano yung best fit based on some elbow method or silhouette method. Yun na yung clusters. Sabi ko, yes, but all you've done is actually just come up with something that works with this data set. So at the very least, you should have a train test there. And even if, hinati mo na nga, how would you then explain parang the clusters are not stationary pala? Baka in one
Mhm.
iteration, ito yung nagdikit-dikit, in another iteration, ito yung nagdikit-dikit. To the point that a lot of students actually realize that what they thought was an insight was actually quite random. And that's where the p-value could have come in. But we don't teach p-value in clustering, right? Yan,
Yes.
yung mga ganyang tanong. So, sabi ko, then there's an inherent flaw with the way we teach these things. And people are gonna make decisions based on them. Yan pa masaya sa commercial environment. One of my own pet peeves back in the day was the culture shock between someone who's classically academically trained and someone who learned it in industry is the pressures are different. In academia, you need these p-values to line up. That's part of the kind of the ritual, no, for you to survive the significance tests. Pero that doesn't mean it's gonna be effective at all. Just because you pass the p-value test doesn't mean it's going to be a profitable model. And then in industry, it's almost always the opposite. Now, they don't even care if it's random as long as you can show that it makes money, and it in fact does make money. And there are many industrial careers that are actually quite random. Kataon lang na they were in a good environment, sales went through the roof, you're promoted to VP, and you have this weird inflated sense of accomplishment. I'm not taking away from anyone's luck, no? Kasi I've been on both sides of that equation. I was in one job where I thought I did everything correctly, didn't work out. And politically, it wasn't very good for me. And then in another job immediately after that, buliktad. Talagang I was riding the waves. People thought I was a genius. Hindi naman nag-iba yung brain ko between those two jobs. Pero nagkataon lang. And then later, it starts reinforcing na, okay, parang naging market na you start timing the market. You don't want to do anything if the market environment's not good or bad. Then that leads to politics kasi, rather than doing the right thing, full stop, a priori, you're now waiting for the right time, the right environment, the right people, whatever. That's where it gets so twisted. I feel that that's part of the puzzle that we're trying to crack, no? And sorry for that wild digression.
No, no worries.
But I feel it goes back to that point. Now, what we're just doing is clustering at at a given point in time with no notion na tomorrow pala iba na yung latag niyan. And we find that insightful, And never mind pa the other phenomena which I'm really, really annoyed at, lalo na ngayon sa AI, where people love over jargonizing everything, being overly complicated about it. Yes, certainly it's not simple, pero 'di ba? You want to keep it as simple as possible, 'di ba? And you do a disservice to the to the practice. If you lalo
Mm-hmm.
na there are people, that's my last rant for this topic, who actually use the jargon for politics. Yung pa-effect lang. And
Effect lang.
and that's despicable. For me, parang that's despicable. Parang, lalo na parang linoko mo lang yung population. Parang may sounding smart. I don't know. Anyway, that's me. By the way,
I
we're nearly at the
mean,
hour. I'm just thinking out loud. But yeah, we can always talk a little bit longer.
yeah,
Okay.
that makes absolute sense naman,
Uh,
like I think it's an I'm not sure how to describe it, but I think it's kind of like an educational problem in the country na what we see in the classroom is befitting of a 100%. So if you don't see it in the classroom, hindi na yun within the scope and you don't need to learn about it anymore. So in stark comparison to here in the UK na what you learn in the classroom is only befitting of a 70%. Pero when you get 70%, that's already a very high distinction. If you want to get a 100%, you have to go out and beyond. So this is the problem that I see in the PH, like what you said about the students, they have no motivation to go beyond. Kaya, what is a p-value? Tenga na lang. And it also, it spills over to the industry na if it works, then it works, it makes money, it prints money. If it doesn't work, then there's someone else to blame about it. As you said, it is highly political nga. But yeah, sorry, I just added on to the digression.
na nga eh. Well, don't worry, I have a sense that we're gonna need to do a follow-up episode on this. But maybe let's bring it back to the very beginning. No?
Yes.
So you've gone through some of your, I don't know, for lack of a better term, disillusionment. And now you're in academia, you're studying. Do you see, and then sabi ko nga, in one of our chats offline, sometimes it helps being outside the petri dish so you can observe it
Yes.
clinically. What's your sense of this? What are you looking forward to? And you're going to be out of your degree in a couple of months na, no? So what's the
Mm-hmm.
plan? Or where do you see this going for yourself, no? And maybe share a bit of a tip for others who might be considering pursuing a similar path as you.
Okay. So echoing what I said an hour ago, I came into this program asking questions, and I'm about to end it with even more questions. Um, I think that's par for the course naman when you go along in a certain field or industry. It's literally the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? So you start off with low insight and low experience, tapos you feel like you're at the top of the world pero konti lang experience mo, and then you realize that you're actually very very stupid. And then that's when you actually start learning until you become very very enlightened. So I don't know where I am exactly. All I know is I know nothing. I'm still stupid, but I know that I am stupid, which lets me learn more about things.
So yun,
um,
that's level 2, 'di ba? Conscious
yes,
incompetence, tama ba? Okay, okay.
yes, conscious incompetence. I know I'm very incompetent in a lot of things, but I can also vouch for my skills. But I'm not gonna claim to be the very best in anything. I will just claim that I know things, but not everything. So after my master's, I don't know yet. I want to work for a tech company that's willing to take me in. Because when I entered this program, data science and communication, um, I thought oh man, this is gonna be career suicide, because I do think it is career suicide. No one will want to work with someone who's gonna tell them that they're wrong, right? Why would I tell people that they're making evil money, that they're making blood diamonds? No one wants that, right? That's why it's career suicide for me. But on the off chance that I do meet people who do want my skill set, then that's great. That's gonna be good for me, because I can finally implement what I want to do in the world. Make better tech for the sake of humanity, as corny as it sounds, as idealistic as it sounds. If it doesn't pan out, then I just go back home to the Philippines and work for some tech company out there, because education is always an investment. And I've already reconciled with not being able to get a job here. So, advice for the people who want to study abroad: go study abroad because you want to learn, not because you want to get a job. Having a master's degree is not a promise of getting a job, and you are not entitled to one. I'm sorry, I'm already making you disillusioned with this, but it's not a one-way ticket to having a job. It's a ticket to getting education. And as I said, education is always an investment. So be careful then with the kind of school you go into. I heavily scrutinized the universities I applied for. Do I want to apply for a bottom of the ladder uni? No, because at that point, what's the point, 'di
What's the
ba? Ano
point, right?
naman? Anong saysay? So, ayun, go for what you can afford, and for a uni that will actually challenge you. Don't go for a university that's gonna give you easy 100s. Or in this case, sa case ng ng UK, don't go for a uni that gives you easy 70s. Kasi, ayun nga, are you still learning anything? I don't think so. You're here to learn. So, okay lang magkamali. Challenge your brain. Make
So
mistakes.
it's not just a CV decoration. Mahal naman masyado if it's just for decoration, ano.
I, on the contrary, I've met people who are very highly against the notion of taking masters. Yung, oy, nag-masters ka pa, ano namang saysay niyan, walang kwenta. And it is very disheartening to hear, but sila yun. Personally, I wouldn't want to work with people who downplay the importance of education, kasi that's what you call crab mentality, right?
Yeah.
So,
Are those
ayun,
from the Philippines, yung mga ganong inputs, or all over the place? Just out of curiosity.
Philippines.
Uh, well, I think I'm not justifying what they say, but I think part of the problem din kasi is the fact that education is also inaccessible in general.
It is.
Parang
Can
naging
you
sour
blame them?
grapes bigla, 'di ba? I can relate to that,
Yeah.
actually.
Um, it's hard to blame them kasi may pinanggagalingan naman eh, but
Mm, mm.
it's not exactly right either for them to say that. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I digress. Go for a uni that's good. Don't go for a bad one. And as for CVs, ayun nga, I'm not gonna go around parading the fact that I'm gonna graduate from a prestigious Russell Group University. I'll just say na I went for a master's. That's it. If they ask, that's when I'm gonna tell them about it. If they don't ask, that's fine. I don't need to wave it around, because I'm gonna be applying for positions in software
Anyway, right?
engineering.
It's gonna be anyway,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah, okay.
But
All
yeah,
right, I think that's a good place
that's
to
it.
end it for now, no? But I want to thank you for sharing a bit of the Liverpool mindset. I don't even if that's a good place to ano. And yeah, we're obviously really looking forward to you finishing your degree. I'd love to have another conversation and more. And yeah, I think we share a similar rage about how bad things are. It's always good to channel that rage productively. Kasi there
Yes.
are also, the classic rebels without a cause on the internet, mga keyboard warriors.
Oh
You're not
no,
you're not one of those. Pero they do exist, and we're gonna
they
have
do
to
exist. Yes.
run
Be
afoul of
careful of
them.
them.
Oh, okay. Sige. Thanks a lot, Arela. No? Looking forward to having you on another episode.
Thanks again, Doc. It's a pleasure being here and to be able to have a platform to talk to a lot of people. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not a fan of football.
Okay, that's good to know. Sige. All right.